Hello everyone and welcome back. So in today's video we'll continue our product shot tutorial, our series. So let's just recap what we did in here. We modeled the bottle, we did also the cap and merged everything in here. So in this out Solaris null. So we have the cap, we have the bottle, we have still to add some thickness to the bottle and create some attributes. We also created if you remember, we created the logo, if that loads, and we also did the displacement for the bottle. So yeah, we need to bring then everything into Solaris. And there's also the last part where we did the splash, and we need to also merge this in here. But okay, I just saved a new scene, number 3, and we will continue from this out base, because right now we have the UVs and everything, but this is single-sided, as you can see. So we need to extrude a bit of this. So for that, I'm going to just poly-extrude this. So poly-extrude. And I'm going to extrude just a little bit, 0.01, that's fine. And I'm also going to output the back. And we also need this extrude back group. As you can see in here, we have this extrude back because we will need to invert the displacement on the interior part. Otherwise, it will be broken. The displacement will displace also outwards from the inside, and we don't want that. So in order to fix that, we will create an attribute. So let's create a wrangle, and it will be on points. And I'm going to do the following. So first of all, I'm going to check if the geometry is in that group. So with in prim group, and the geometry is incoming geometry. The group is the extrude back, and we also need to use the prim num, even it's a point wrangle. So we need this, and we will create an attribute called sign, and the name should say all. So we will do a sign, and we will check this condition. So it will be either 0 or 1. If it's in the group, is 1. If it's not, it's 0. So we will do the sign of this, but we need values between -1 and 1. So if I do this right now, let's see what sorts of values we get. So sign. And we are getting 1 and 0. If you can see in here, we have 0 and 1, but I want -1 and 1. So a simple trick that, like we have done plenty of times before, is to multiply. Oops, do I have my keyboard? Yeah. So multiply this by 2.0 and subtract 1.0. So now we should have a value between -1 and 1 and some average values in here. So that will be fine. We will need that for later. And after this, we will do the poly bevel. So this will be, let me get rid of that attribute visualization. So let me just see in here, I did this poly bevel, but I probably need to reduce it. So maybe to 0.005. And I'm also going to increase the divisions. Divisions are fine too, but we can probably increase them to 3. So to get a more rounded look in there. And that is fine. Now we're going to subdivide. That's fine. And just for clarity, we will name this bottle, so we can target it in Solaris. Let's get rid for now of this cap, and we will do the liquid inside. In this case, it will be water. So I'm going to create a blast and delete non-selected the extrude back. Then I can just clip this along the Y, so 0, 1, 0. And let me see what sort of value did I use in here. So around 1.78, and make sure we do below. So it will be around here, the water level. Then we need to reverse this. And we also need to do a small peak to go inside the initial bottle geometry. So it's hard to see, but our water is here. So if we do a small peak, in this case we do it, we can do the following. We can take this extrude in here and do half of it. So if we connect this in here and we do divided by 2, and for some reason, so let me check in here, a clip, a reverse, and a peak. And yeah, this should be working. Did I extrude it in? Probably. So no. So this should be working, but for some reason it's not. So I'm gonna place in here normal just in case. And now it's peaking in. And as you can see, is going half of the extrusion in. So this was always the case for many renders I used to play with, mainly Arnold. And you should always place the liquid geometry a bit inside of the bottle. I hope that also works with Karma. I think so, at least I didn't get any problems. So I'm gonna fill the polygons in here and create a name. And I'm gonna name this water or liquid water. Organize this a bit and load it in here. So now we have the water and we have the bottle. Then we can merge in the cap. So let's connect this in here, connect this to the match size and the transform. Let's see if that works. If that even aligns. So not really. Because I did something in here, so I can actually, let me see. So match size, we are matching in here and we did a transform and we need to increase this transform. So just visualize this and increase the transform. Something about 0.2, let me see. And should be working there. So let's just increase this a bit. Something like that. That is fine. Now let's create also a name and name this cap. From here we can merge in also the splash. So let's do that. Let's create an object merge. Sorry about that. And I'm going to merge in the create a null first and name it out splash, and I'm gonna merge it in here. So let's see how that looks. That's way too much. I ended up using a transform to scale it, so I'm gonna merge and just, or we can do a transform first. And I'm gonna scale it, probably rotate it, because I like more this angle. I'm looking from the z-axis, so I always try to do that. And scale it, yeah, to about 0.45, that's fine. And now we can create a name and call it splash. Did I call it splash? Yeah. And now we can just merge this in. Oops. Now we disconnected the other one, so Shift R. Let's clean this. And we should have everything ready to go. Did I do the projection of the logo? Oh yeah, I did. So here it is. Yeah. And now it's all over the place. Do I need to reload this? So let me just check in here. Oh, because I did the poly extrude, so I'm going to do instead in here. Do we have UVs? Yes. Did I do a texture projection? So let me check that. So actually disabling and enabling these nodes. Sorry, I was previewing this geometry in here, so now it should work in here. Sorry about that. So we do the texture projection in here, which will work better. So that's fine, then we just need to copy this path. So we did that already in previous videos. So now we should have everything ready. No, we need to do the water drops. Yeah, let's do that next. So guys, for the water drops, we actually did a custom solution for on Patreon that we have these animated water drops and whatnot. But for the YouTube tutorial, I'm gonna do a simple static frame and not render animation just to be quicker. And we will use a plugin or an HDA from Fabian Strupp. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's an awesome HDA that is just plug and play, and we create water drops and condensation easily. And it's available on Gumroad for free. You can give him a tip if you want. And yeah, we will use that instead. But if you want a custom solution and build a setup from scratch, I have this Patreon tutorial for the month of April, so you can check that out. So with that in mind, let's get back in here and let's see what we will do. First of all, we will create the water drops. But if we do that on this flat geometry, it wouldn't align in render when we apply the displacement. So we actually need to displace this bottle right now for the water drops, only for the water drops, because in render we will use displacement. So that should be pretty simple. We do an object merge. Let's do it in here. And I'm gonna merge in the out bottle. Where did I, which version is this? So we will merge this one in here. Let me name it actually. So out bottle. So let's merge that in. And let's focus on this. And I'm gonna blast the back part just to avoid some issues. And we don't need to deal with them now. So extrude back, just blast it, the back part. And now we will subdivide this just once. And we will apply the displacement. So we will come in here to the CopNet. And we will copy this bottle displacement. Can we see anything? Not really. That should be working. So if we do attribute from map, and I don't want CD, I want disp and float as float. I might want to visualize it, but for now, yeah, let's keep it. And we will do OP and paste the path. And let's see how that works. I'm not seeing anything, but I'm gonna trust this works. So I'm gonna disable the visualization, and if that doesn't work, we will see what is going on. So let's do v at peak plus equal along the normals and multiply by the disp attribute. Oh, it should be working. Right. It's just negative values and whatnot. We don't visualize it. Let's place a normal maybe. And now we don't have enough geometry, of course. So what did I do in here? I only subdivided once. Am I loading the subdivision version? So not actually. So let's connect actually this out bottle in here because I need the subdivided version. Let's see if that is still working. Yeah. And our texture projection. Yeah. So now if we subdivide these ones, we will have more subdivisions, of course, more geometry to play with. We do the attribute from map and we do the displacement and we place a normal. So now we have enough geometry to play with. All right. We can create a null in here. And let's call it bottle displaced. Let's clean this. And before dropping in the droplet solver from Fabian, we will poly reduce this just in case, because the higher the polygon count, the slower will be the tool. So I'm gonna drop this to like 10, and we still have enough to play with, as you can see, and we're going from 100,000 to 10,000, and it's pretty fast. So now we will do the droplet solver. And let me see if I remember how this works properly, but we will play with it. So right now is way too small, so I might need to increase the size. Let me see. This is like 2 meters tall. Let's increase this to 0.01 and for the minimum size, and for the maximum size we will do 0.015. So that should be about the scale. Let's get the timeline, and we should have some animated drops. I'm gonna change the trail length to be about 80, and we should have a longer length, and maybe play with this trail increment so it is more normalized. So as you can see, it's still a bit slow. Well, this is a solver after all. But yeah, I'm gonna play with the seed and just create a static version of this. So for density, I think this is working pretty well. We can increase to have more drops. We can actually increase the amount of animated drops. So if we increase this say to 0.3, we now should have way more, but I'm gonna keep it as 0.1. Let's play with the seed, see where we go from this. So let's say I like this one, and it should be following the surface. So let me see from here. It still goes halfway inside. So, oh, this one is from the back, so. So, let's see. This will look a bit better if we do the meshing, so let's try that. Let's pick a frame. Let's say about... Maybe play a bit more with the trail, not the trail length. Let's see what this height does it. So let's see. Okay, let's play with a bit more with this and increase the trail increment. Trail length of 20. Maybe a bit more. So 100. That's too much. 70. So let's say we like this one. And now we need to put this, because right now this is just a previous spheres on top of each other. And we need to create instead a VDB. Let's hope that's not too slow. Sorry, we don't want VDB, we want a polygonal mesh. But let's cancel and change the voxel size to about 0.05 to be faster. So now it should be faster. So there we go. And now we have our drops. I still don't, not a big fan of the shape, and it's a bit low poly, but then again it was pretty fast. Guess we can increase it just a tiny bit more to 0.03. And yeah, this will be more than enough. So let's actually place a time shift. And this is the droplets. We also have a points output and a wet map if you want to play with it. So I'm gonna freeze this frame and disable this, and because this is a bit slow to calculate, I'm gonna place a file cache and name it drop demo cache, and just save this out, and of course it will calculate again. So I'm just going to make sure I disable this so it doesn't try to calculate again for some weird reason. And let's create a null in here and name it out droplets. So we have the droplets, we have the geometry. Of course this will not align due to being flat right now, the bottle, but it will align when we bring it into Solaris and do the displacement. So yeah, let's do that next. So now in the second part we will move this into Solaris. So let's copy this. can actually create a lognet instead. Go inside, change this to Solaris, OBJ, and go inside the lognet. Let's do a sub import. I'll name this bottle and bring in, I have it here as copied, so press ESC, and there we have our geometry. Now let's bring in the droplets. So droplets, and we will do the droplets. That's fine. We will create a backdrop for this. So let's do a sub create and name it backdrop. We'll create a grid that will be 10 by 10, but we will place it around -1 in the back. We will subdivide it twice. So subdivide it and increase this to 2. And let's do a bend. Go to the viewer state, press enter, and start to play with these. We can do 90, that's fine. Now let's just do the other way around. So let's go in here and change the capture direction to -1, and maybe the capture origin also to -1. So that should be fine. Now we can play with this capture length to be a bit more soft. Guess this will be fine. Let's create a name, and we will name it backdrop, and also create an output. It's always a good idea, so it evaluates always the last node. So we have the backdrop, we have our assets, and now let's create some. First of all, create a material library for our materials, and we will do some custom lighting, but for now let's also place a dome light, and I'm gonna use one from Polyhaven, I believe, which is this small studio. Change it to let long. This one in here from Polyhaven, and it's a small studio setup, as you can see. We can keep it as 1 for now, but we will decrease it in a bit. Let's create a Karma render settings, change this to XPU, and we will also create in here a denoiser, the optics denoiser, and we also need a camera. So in this case, let me see. I'm gonna create a camera in here, so I'm gonna actually press F, try to focus in here, and create a camera from this shortcut. Place it in here, and now we need to change this to the other way around, so 19 by 16, and the focal length is fine. I'm just going to increase this to zoom in. So is this fine? Maybe let's increase this to 60, to 80. Why is creating this weird effect? So let's focus on the camera, and just want to make sure. Let me reset the viewport. Camera. Oh, sorry, it's not this. I'm stupid. It's the focal length, so let's try to keep this as default, so to 41 or something. Let's actually create this from scratch. So let's focus in here. I changed the focal length to 120. So I'm going to create a new camera. Change this to 99 by 16 and change the focal length to 120. So I'm too distracted. So let's pick in here a framing that will be fine. Let's make sure we render the viewport size. We can set the background to dark and don't display environment light. Let's also create a default material just for preview. So Karma, and we can assign this a gray value and increase the specular to 0.4. and assign to all. That's fine. Let's disable the lights and create in here a render preview and make sure we have in here bottle, cap, splash, and water. Yeah, that's fine. And let's do a preview render. This will compile for a bit, so it's already working, so that's fine. And we first of all need to work on the displacement of the bottle. So for that, I'm going to create a Karma material builder, and this will be our bottle mat. And let me check in here the path. So let's do this displacement first. So we do an image and we will load it as a float, and it will be to the displacement path. So obj bottle and component and out bottle disp. That's fine. And we will connect this to the displacement just like that. And let's assign that to the bottle geometry. So let's just do bottle. And we should be previewing something, but for some reason it's not working. So now it's working. And we also need to apply the displacement to the water. So let's actually hide the cap and splash and water. So, and we also can hide the droplets. So as you can see, the displacement is all messed up because we are also displacing the inside part. So we have that attribute, if you remember. So if I can find it in here, a prim var called sign. Yeah, we should have it in here. So let's load that. So prim var reader, and it's a float, and it's called sign. And if we do multiply on this, and we actually need to multiply this by constant. So let's multiply this by -1. And now we should be working our displacement. So we actually needed the other way around. We should have fixed that in the sub workflow, but let's keep it like that. So we have our displacement working. Let's just see if the water drops align. So droplets, and they do. As you can see, they are following exactly the geometry, the transition. And now we can start to work on this material. First of all, I'm going to import in the texture projection. So I'm gonna pin this and go to the object context, and I'm gonna load in this. So I'm gonna copy the path, go inside, and create another image. Delete this image, and it will be a color for. So a vector for a color for, and we will load this image. I'm gonna separate color for to get the alpha, and I'm also going to convert this to an RGB only, and in here we can just copy this to the base color. That's fine. And now we will do from this alpha. So if I connect this in here, as you can see, we have the alpha, but we can do the following. We want to connect this to the transmission. But if we do it right now, we will have this part transparent and this opaque, which we don't want, or transmissive, I should say. So we can do an invert. And now we should have that part opaque and the other completely transmissive. So if we connect now this to the base color, and as specular roughness, I'm gonna load in some maps. So let me see, specular, we can change the index of refraction to 0.4, and as for roughness, let's keep it to 0.1 for now. Let's load our camera, and we have our displacement working. We just need to work a bit on the specularity. So this will take a minute to compile. It's already working. So might be worth it to play a bit with the amount of rays here on the limit. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's maybe increase this to 8 and 8 just in case. That's fine. And because we will add the water and whatnot, and it's not a good idea to actually do the water now because it will be really simple. So I can just duplicate this one and call it water mat. And let's not do the color, neither this. And we have a transmissive. Yeah, we should have a transmissive material. And let's not do the displacement and load in the water to see how that goes. So as you can see, oh, we need to assign. So let's assign this to the water. And did I assign it to the water? Yeah. So let's disable this and load again the render. But as you can see, the water is going outwards. So we will need that displacement. I just need to make sure I have that attribute on the water. And I think I have. Do I? Let me check. So if I go in here on the water, and I should have a sign. Let's actually remove the transmission because it will be easier to see and do a small render in here. And as you can see, it's not going well because we need to disable this one. Now it should work. So as you can see. And let's load again the transmission. Let's delete this because we won't need it. And let's load in the transmission again. Yep, that is working, and we need to play a bit more with the lights to get rid of some of these black spots in here. And let's do the rest of the materials and the lighting next. Alright, let's do now the material for the backdrop just to preview it better and start to look at the final result. So let's do a background matte, and this will be a black material, so something like that, so not completely dark. And we also will do specular. We can increase it a bit more to maybe 0.4. And let's assign this to our backdrop. So backdrop. I'm not sure this is too dark for now. Let's maybe decrease this. Please. Let's keep it like that for now. We will change the materials and whatnot. So the lighting, so that's fine for now. And the next part, we will also need to do some work on our bottle. So let's load a triplanar material node, Karma X-Style triplanar. Let's load it as a color. I'm gonna load in here a texture. Let's connect these in here and preview it. So this is like a surface imperfections. I'm gonna increase the triplanar blend. Probably play a bit with the scale to about point, maybe that's too much, 0.8. Play with the seed, and let's do this by eye. So let me connect again this to the base color and do a simple range. Connect it in here, and let's do a separate color for and just use one of the channels and connect this to the specular roughness. And now we want this mostly black and just some white. Let's see how that will work out. Let's see if we can see something. Let's view it from here. And it will compile. And hopefully we will start to see some of that shining through. So let me actually do this and maybe play a bit more with these. So let's increase this. Let's see this and play a bit more with this. Let's load our camera. And we should start to see some irregularities. Maybe it's a bit hard to see with this resolution. So let's clear the region. We cannot. I still want to keep it pretty shiny, but just add some small imperfections. So we can always increase this a bit more to have more roughness. As you can see, we start to see it in here, but it will also be hard to preview with this sort of lighting. So let's keep that for now, and we will maybe adjust it later. So we have this water material. Let's actually create another Karma. And let's say liquid matte. Oops, liquid matte. And let's increase the specular to decrease to 0.05 and increase the transmission. I'm gonna keep it pretty simple and gonna assign this. So I'm just gonna remove this one. I need to remove it again, and I'm gonna assign this to the splash and to the droplets. So let's select both and connect it in here. That is fine. Now we also need to do the cap material, so let's get that in here. Let's clear all viewport overrides, and let's create a Karma material, and this will be the cap mat. We need to load in the displacement, so OP, OBJ, bottle, copnet, and we have the cap disp. Let's connect this, make sure this is a float, and connect this to the displacement. And I'm not sure which color did I use, about 0.28. So let's see, 0.28. This was the color I went for. And a specularity, we can keep it by default, so that is fine. And just connect the displacement. Let's assign that. So let's actually delete this default material. We won't need it anymore. And let's assign this. We can do assign material, the node assign material, but just to keep it simple, I'm gonna use just the material library. Alright, let's do a small render. And we should have the cap displacement. Let's do a restart. And now we see it a bit more, because this is based on the view of the camera. Let's restart again. We can increase the quality of the displacement because I'm seeing some issues in here. So what we can do is to place in here render geometry settings, select everything, so the cap and everything that has displacement, and go in here and change the dicing quality to 1. Let's see if that helps us. And let's unpin this and start the render and restart the render. And that should help in there a little bit. Well, let's keep it. So now let's do some basic lighting. So we can actually place the first light I'm going to place. We just do 2 lights, one on the left and one just to see more of the details in here. So I'm going to create in here. First of all, I'm going to decrease this intensity to 0.4 or something and create a light. This will be rectangle light. I'm going to rotate it, but I'm going to rotate it. Oops, what have I done? So rotate, hold control, and I'm gonna place it in here. increase this maybe to 5 and 10, so quite big. I'm gonna move it back a little bit and increase the exposure to something like 3. Let's disable this light for now and look just at this one. Maybe this is a bit much, so what I'm going to do is to split the stow panes, so split left and right, and I'm going to preview this in here, grab the light on this side, and maybe, let's see, let's move it a bit on the back, and increase maybe the intensity. I also want some on the background, maybe keep it a bit closer. And I just want to make sure I'm doing this properly. So in this case, I think we have a refraction issue in here. So let me check in here my materials, so the water material. I'm gonna change the index of refraction to the water instead. So about 1.325. And also on the other ones, so the liquid ones. Let me make sure. So we have a backdrop on there, backdrop water droplets, and now maybe this light is a bit too intense, so I'm going to reduce this to 1 again. And let's create now another light. So, light. And this will be again a rectangle. Gonna enable this and pick specular and place it around. Maybe let's do it in here. So specular and place it. And let's preview how that looks. And of course it will compile. Let's increase the exposure to 2. Maybe 4. I just want to pick some of my lights in there. And let's keep orientation and keep working on this. And now maybe this is a bit too much, so let's keep it something like 3. And yes, something like that can work. Maybe reduce these. Let's try to play again with another angle. Yeah, kind of like this one. And let me see if I have it. Not really. This is mostly coming from this one. So I'm gonna need to add another light because this is too dark. So I'm gonna create yet another light. It can be a rectangle again. And I'm gonna place it, oops, edit. And I'm gonna place it, so is this like 3? Yeah. And I'm gonna place it closer. So I'm gonna increase it and place it lining on the back and pointing at the background. Maybe increase it like this, and let's see how that looks. So let's increase again the exposure to 1, maybe 2. And we need also a light for the logo. So I'm going to do maybe play a bit with the roughness of the water. So let's go to the water and play a bit with the roughness. Oh, I know what's going on. We have too much roughness on the bottle. So let's go to the bottle, and in here where we did the specular roughness, I want to decrease this to have a sharper result. We still get some hints of the roughness, but mostly it will be pretty shiny. And now we can add simply a light to the logo just to finish it up, if you're still following this. So I'm gonna add another light. Disable the render because you never know if this crashes. I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna create a rectangle light, and again place the specular in here, or in this case diffuse. So we can play in here, and we can actually place it. Oh, we don't want to keep orientation, sorry. So let's place it in here. Maybe decrease the size and go again to the render. Let's increase this to 1. We got the water drop in there. And let me see what I can improve, and I'll be back. So guys, I just moved a bit of the lights around, changed the roughness of the backdrop, and also placed the render geometry settings and changed the dielectric priority of the droplets to show a bit more. And yeah, that was basically it. I'm not a big fan of these backdrops here on the back, so I can probably go into the geometry. And let's clip this on the z-axis, and let's go again to the LopNet. Let's see how that works for us. I think those are on the back, so this is a bit more clean, as you can see, because we don't have those in there, but now we're getting black spots. It's probably because of this dielectric priority, so I'm gonna remove it, and yeah, it will work well this way. So yeah, that's basically it. Now we can do just a final render, so I'm gonna get this in here, oops, and just do a final render. So I'm gonna increase this to 512 and do a render and come back when it's finished. So yeah guys, this is our final render. Not perfect by any means, but hopefully you picked up a few tips and tricks, at least on the workflow side. So we did this from start to finish, and it's been like a month since I did the last part, so sorry about that. But now it's finished and you can rewatch it. Maybe we could have introduced a bit of noise on these bubbles, they look way too perfect. And you can actually do that in the droplet solver. So go ahead and do that. Play a bit more with everything else, with the lighting, and I'm sure you can do a better job than me. The cap here is a bit dark on this side, but the background is pretty boring, but you know, I'm just roasting my render. Now you can do a better job than me. Hopefully you found this useful. As always, you can grab all the tools and scene files on my Patreon for all my videos. And if you like to support my work, please join my Patreon. And other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.